Good morning, everybody, and welcome to take two. We did the session and we came off and realised that there was no sound. I'm really sorry about that, so we're going to do it all again. Welcome. Tex has joined us for a bit for today, and Ron's going to be giving us a thought for the week. Oh, there, what's he doing?
Well, Ruth has posted on Facebook a picture of a small fishing boat, which are common in Norway. And I wanted to tell a story just briefly this morning about an episode that I had. A few years ago, I was in a mission organization, and we traveled and worked with churches, and we went to Trondheim in Norway. And it's a beautiful place. It was in the summer, it was about this time of year, and there was no darkness at all. It's quite unusual. And one of the men in the church where we were at had a fishing boat, and he would go out on the fjord. And he invited us to go one day out on this fishing boat, just as for something to do. So we all got on this rather smallish fishing boat and went out into the fjord, and everything was lovely. And then suddenly, as we were there, the waves began to get up, and it was like really this kind of back and forth, and everybody was starting to feel a bit weird and seasick. And so everybody went under the deck downstairs, and I did as well. But I discovered that if you do that, you get really seasick. So I decided I wanted to come back up on the deck and stand on the deck. But in order to do so, the owner of the boat, our captain or skipper for the day, decided that he would take a rope and he would tie me to the pilot's little hut that's on the middle of the boat, so that I wouldn't go overboard. And so I thought, well, that's a fair deal. I don't want to go overboard. I'd rather be tied to something, and I didn't want to go below deck because I knew I would get really seasick. So he took this rope and he strapped me to this little pilot's hut, and we were doing that, and it was really back and forth like this, but I was able to see the horizon, so I didn't get seasick. And it was actually quite a weird experience, but I did feel fairly safe. And then I was able to see the dock where we were going back to, back to safety, basically. So that was my experience on one of these small fishing boats in a fjord in Norway, where the waves were really, really choppy, and it was a bit dangerous. So I got tied to this little hut. Now, I'm going to read a verse on the back of this little story. And this verse comes from Paul's telling basically his testimony, his background to a church in Philippi. And he says he hasn't reached the end of his journey yet, where he wants to get, but he's on the way. He said, I've not reached this goal, I've become perfect, but I keep pursuing it, hoping somehow to embrace it, just as I've been embraced by Jesus, the Messiah. And so he's describing the Christian walk as embracing everything that God has for us, everything that Jesus has for us. But the starting point is that he has embraced us first. He's gotten hold of us. And just like when I was on that boat, I was embraced, literally embraced almost, by that boat. And I became part of that boat so that I wouldn't go overboard. And following Jesus, saying yes to Jesus, means that he embraces us. We become part of him. He becomes part of us. He fills us up. And then what we do next is we continue to go for what he has for us and to embrace it. The gospel is that we lay down certain things and we take up certain things. We lay down our sin and our selfishness, rebellion against God, and we embrace all that he has for us. And my challenge for you today is, if you've never taken that step of saying yes to Jesus and allowing God to embrace you, bring you into his embrace, you can do that today. We're going to sing this song this morning called God So Loved That He Gave His Son, laid down his life for the sake of us. See, Jesus is a sacrifice for us because of his love. He bore our sin, our shame, and with a cry he said, "It is finished." And it's the most amazing cry in the history of the world, where Jesus has done the work that's needed to be done so that we could come back to a God the Father. So the words are posted, and we invite you to sing along.
I just want to add to that, Ron, if that's all right. So it may be that you have said yes to Jesus and to God's embrace. But if you are in a storm right now, that you need God to embrace you, just like that boat embraced Ron. You need God to kind of tie you to the boat, tie you to him to be safe in that storm. And as we sing this, just ask God, ask God to tie you to him and so that you'll be safe. Thanks for being with us today. Take care. And finally, it's somebody's birthday. Happy birthday, Ali. Ali, have a great day, whatever however you're celebrating. Oh, my words today. Take care. We'll see you soon.